Hey everyone, Brian Beeler here from Storage Review. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. This week we've got Tom Fenton on. You know Tom from his shenanigans when we were running the group pod, and now we've got a whole hour of Tomisms and his thoughts on working from home technologies, Intel NUCs, FreeNAS, TrueNAS, Horizon. We got deep in all of those fun things. So interspersed between the tech talk, there might be a little bourbon talk too, but I think you'll enjoy it. Good conversation. Glad to have Tom back.
Joining us on a very special evening podcast, Drinking with Tom. It's Tom Fenton from the Pac Northwest office. Tom, how are you?
I'm doing good, and I like to think of it as drinking with Brian, beers with Brian. I like that. Forget this storage review podcast, beers with
Yeah, well,
Brian.
we bailed on the normal, well, for me anyway, the normal workday podcast interview, and went with a 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, casual pod with Tom or casual pod with Brian, depending on your perspective. You're working on a stogie over there, I see.
Yeah, I am. This is one I found in my humidor, kind of towards the bottom. I'm getting to the bottom of the humidor.
That's a
It's a
sad state.
it's a Vegas 5 Gold. I might have picked these up last time we were in Vegas. What was that? 5, 6 years ago? A couple lifetimes ago?
It sure does feel like it. I tell you what, though, that discovery you made last time we were there for, it had to be Dell World, right? Or was it the last VM World? Uh, or
I think it was.
maybe, yeah, I think it was Dell World. And so they always do that at the Venetian, at that Sands complex. And if you go outside through the Palazzo, bang a right, cross the street, there's that the Davidoff there right in front of the Fashion Mall. And there's probably not many better places on the Vegas Strip to just kind of get away from the conference when it's at the Venetian and sit there. They have a happy hour, have a beer, have the attendant secure your stogie if you're so inclined. They light it up for you. I mean, that's a great little spot to burn an hour or two.
Yeah, whenever I go to Vegas, I get burnt out of Vegas, but when I sit down there and just watch the Lambos and the Harleys throwing revs up and down the strip and the people watching, because it's kind of in a unique position. It's between, the Wynn, which in Palazzo, which are, fairly expensive casinos. And then you got the Circus down at the other end. It's just kind of a
Oh gosh, that place is
confluence
a
of it.
dump.
Yeah, my wife about 9 years ago, 10 years ago, she said, "Hey, want to relive some childhood memories? Let's take the kids to the circus." Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. Not one of the nicer joints on the strip. So,
You know, I've yeah,
so
I've ne I've never once done Vegas for fun.
see, and I've never once done Vegas for business.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. I know sometimes I'll shut down at about 1:30, 2 a.m. after being spent coming from the East Coast, and you're still going. I don't know how that is. You must have a reserve liver.
It's cigars. I really don't smoke cigars that much, and just getting the nicotine in your system, it just keeps me up all night. I have a real low tolerance for nicotine and caffeine. Don't drink caffeine uh, yeah, during the year, and then go to conference, have one rum and coke, and it keeps me up all night.
Oh my gosh, I drink so much caffeine. I do two, let's see, in the morning. This I'm sure everyone wants to know about this. I do two. Uh, what do I use? Black Rifle Murdered Out. So we brew that. I'll do two of those bad boys in the morning. Then on the way to the office, swing by the local place and get a quad shot latte. And this is all still in the morning. And then probably bang out two more coffees throughout the day, one right after lunch. And at 4:30, if I'm feeling a little low, I get one of those bangs. I've got them in the fridge downstairs at the office, and that's another 300 milligrams of caffeine. So
Man, I'd be jumping off the walls. How that? Wow.
yeah, I don't know. It's just what I do. It's probably not healthy. I'm sure there's some cardiologists listening and saying you're about to wreck your valve number three or whatever. But I don't know. So tonight you working the stogie. You got something in the glass?
Oh yeah, I got my favorite, man. It's a Writer's Tear. It's a Irish whiskey. Just I mean, look at that. Just like this beautiful golden color. Looks like one of those perfect sunsets, and the legs on it are just fantastic. Can you see the legs on that, Brian?
I can't. And this is
Oh,
great for podcasts where no one can see
yeah.
the video stream that we're sharing. But
Yeah.
we'll have to figure that out one day. Actually, Kevin. So one of the things Kevin's working on this week is so you're aware we've got a new hire. We've got a social media manager coming on board on Monday.
You mean
So
all those jokes I made about, yeah, have your social media director put this on the blah blah blah.
yeah,
You
yes. Now we have one. So it's funny because it's hard, right? A lot of people are having a hard time with the COVID thing, and the businesses are getting killed, and it's tough, and we're trying to navigate it too, just like everybody else. Um, but my feeling is that we're going to see some events this fall, and when we get there, I just want our team to be firing on all cylinders. So I figured it was a good time to make an investment. So we've got a social media person coming on. She's going to be here on Monday and be straightening us out. So if you see some an uptick in our tweet quality, we might even meme. She said something to me the other day about doing a meme. I'm not exactly sure what we're doing, but we're about to do it.
Oh, can we do Baby Yoda memes?
That might get Lucas pissed off, and I'm not sure we want to do that. But
By by the way,
yeah.
on the last the teardown and write up I did on using the Nuke 9 for
Mhm.
ESXi server, I snuck a Baby Yoda in one of the screen captures, and you guys didn't catch it,
Well,
did you?
well, we will allow that. Is it the smoking Baby Yoda you
It's
tried to get in?
yes, it is.
Gosh, this is why you haven't been on the podcast in 6 weeks, because you're a giant pain in the butt. Uh, but yeah, so you've got your storage review campfire mug. We're thinking about doing a run of deep etched storage review beer pints.
Me being a spirits guy, I think the shot glasses they'd be cheaper to ship, and I know you're such a tightwad that has to come into play. I mean, a beer mug's going to cost $2, where a shot glass is going to cost $1.75. So I'm sure that'll come into play.
I'm not really sure I appreciate that commentary. Yeah, so we're looking at all sorts of things. We're dealing with the COVID like everyone else is. I know you were talking about NUCs. So it's funny because I was looking this week through Google Analytics and just getting a feel for what sort of content's resonating right now. A lot of work from home stuff is. You mentioned that NUC you just reviewed. Actually, I don't even know why I'm telling you this because it'll just send your head sky high. But two of our top 10 articles for the week are the last two NUC reviews.
Wow,
I know.
that's
So I think it's either employers trying to figure out how to put low cost workstations at their employees' houses, or I don't know, maybe it's a bunch of home labbers that've got the free time and taking their stimulus checks and blowing it on hardware to screw around with. What do you think?
yeah. I could see both use cases for it. I was up there today, working on that review that we're doing for HP ZCentral, and using that little guy, and yeah, it just is a little powerhouse. I mean, I'm doing solid modeling on it. I'm rotating this model in every which direction, and the GPU is getting pegged out about 99%. So it's they aren't cheap. They're not an inexpensive thing, but the amount of power you can get in that thing. What we should do is take a bunch of ones and stack them up and compare it to the size of the cost of it versus a stack of ones.
I still, I still want to get my hands on that scale computing cluster that they did on Nux.
Have they released that yet?
It's out there, and I what we talked to Alan over there, and what did he tell us? It was 5 grand for a little 3 node dude.
Yeah,
I mean, it's something. It's something. It's nothing, right?
that's nothing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't get a lot of capacity, but man, that's just neat when you can fit it inside a one of those reusable shopping bags, and now you've got your little HCI cluster. If you don't need a lot, then that's not so bad. We'll have to. Those guys are in Indy. It's 2 hours. Might have to go over there. Oh, but this is funny. So we were talking about events, and I don't want to say who, but somebody reached out yesterday and said, "Would you do an event September 18th or 9th or something?" And I said, "Yeah, you know what? I think I would." So if you put it together, I would come. We've got another one from a big company, but I don't want to say anything because it's not announced yet. That's looking at something in October in person. So it, I feel like there's still going to be some hesitation, but some of these big brands are feeling a closer to safety to think about doing an event.
Oh yeah, the SEs I've talked to, they're just kind of freaking out. The marketing people. I mean, they love events. They love the interaction with the community. You can get so much information by going to one of these events and talking to them. Whereas a WebEx, it's pretty much a one-way communication. But when you go to events, we've looked at the numbers. I've been in marketing a little bit and looked at the numbers of how many leads, qualified leads, you get per uh, WebEx versus online event, and there really isn't that much difference. But the big thing is just that interaction with the customer, knowing what they want, knowing what they're looking for. It's so much easier to do that when you're live with the
In
customer.
the live event, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, so we've got those sort of in the fall horizon, but next week, so we've got the excitement of the social media person coming online on Thursday, and I'm going to get you involved in this. We have an in-lab live vendor meeting. This is really exciting. We've got a guy from iXsystems coming in,
Oh,
and we're the
the guys who
TrueNAS.
do it, TrueNAS guys.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wait,
we're
they're
gonna
coming from beautiful sunny Cal to. What do they want? A
no.
haircut and a steak, or they
They
why
do.
they have to come to beautiful Ohio?
We do have haircuts. We also have steaks. I actually dined in a restaurant this evening, so
Wow,
uh,
look at you!
I know,
Wow.
very fancy. I know. All these years, everyone laughs at the flyover states. Well, guess what? We got restaurants and bars and haircuts and fingernails and whatever else
I
you
was
have
gonna
going on.
I was gonna mention your pedicure. You got your toes up on the in the screen there. It looked very nice.
Great. Yeah,
Very nice.
thanks. But so they're coming up, and we're gonna do. I was talking before about Kevin. Kevin's working on getting us set up to do a live YouTube feed, and we're looking at and this will almost
What can
certainly
go
fail.
wrong?
Yeah,
What
this
can
is
go wrong?
so I'll tell you how wrong it's going to go. Probably is that we want to do a live video feed with IX and look at the beta release code of TrueNAS Core as the two stacks come together, TrueNAS and FreeNAS. And apparently, there's a bunch of great features that have been talked about that we may be able to demo next week for the first time on broadcast. So we're pretty excited about that. Kevin's having a stroke though, trying to figure out what parts we need to pull it together. How do we do this? How do we get all the components together? But it's looking like Thursday we're going to do our not our first because we're going to try to slip one in between, but a real live broadcast. And if Kevin wasn't freaking out enough already, the guys from IX emailed last night and they said, "Oh my gosh, we're so excited! That'll be great. What we can do is you can also connect to our live stream and we can access the 25,000 TrueNAS subscribers on YouTube." So we're gonna try to double broadcast it. We've never done it before. It's 99.9% certain to fail, and then they want to layer another 25,000 followers on top of it.
Yeah. I think the failure ratio is indirectly proportional to the amount of people that are going to be on it, right?
It's going to be a mess, but if we pull it off, it will be one of the most beautiful media things we've ever done. And I feel a little sorry for Lucy, the new social media manager, that she's got to roll into her first week and say, "Oh, here, by the way, we're going to try to do this live stream to that's going to go out to they're 25, we've got 5, and whoever else promotes it in those accounts that, yeah, maybe we'll get, I don't know, what we'll get, 1,000 people, 15, 2,000, I don't know what we'll get. But yeah, your job number one is to go deal with this live stream that's almost certainly going to fail.
Ballsy move on your part, Brian. That and that's the difference between storage review and the rest of the industry is, we're willing to put it on the line, right?
Yeah, nobody would
I'm part of it. Yeah,
do that.
yeah, we're me and you, right? You're willing to. I have nothing invested in this.
No, but you better show up and you can ask your nonsensical questions. And I tell you what, though, the more we've worked with the guys at IX, the more impressed I get because, um, I think the home labbers love FreeNAS. You did the write up on the Asigra plugin for FreeNAS. That whole platform, I mean, it's been around for forever, basically. One of the first like real software defined storage things before SDS was even a concept. And they've been around just getting it done quietly in some cases, just cranking through, adding features and I'll be the first to admit when you're using their stuff, there's 8 billion dials and that can be intimidating and it's easy to break it if you don't know what you're doing. But you know, they're wildly successful in terms of penetration in the SDS market. You use it too. I mean, you did the Seeger work. You've had a lot of time on it.
Well, actually, no. I just sent one up about 10 years ago and I let it run, and the dang thing will not die. I mean, it's sitting in my garage where I do welding, where I do woodworking, where I smoke my cigars, blow smoke into the unit. And I mean, it's just on an old HP Micro running some 286 processor or some thing, just rock freaking solid, man.
Welding?
Oh, yeah.
What do you weld?
Things, stuff.
You just go out there at 8 o'clock at night and just bang crap together and
Yeah, yeah,
spot weld it.
strike and arc, some spot welding. Oh yeah, you're from the Midwest. You're from the auto country there. Spot weld it. No, man. I can do a
You
pretty
can
good
melt
bead.
you can melt some steel.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I never learned that skill. I never learned many skills, honestly, and it's too bad because my father has been in home construction for his whole life, basically, and I spent many a summer day as a 13-year-old or 12-year-old sweeping up job sites, and I'll tell you what, that'll teach you a little bit about work. And it'll encourage you to get through school, high school, and graduate and move on when you're pushing a broom in a house in Ohio in August when it's 140 degrees in the second floor.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm with you 100% on that. Get kids doing the crappiest job they can as young as they can, and it'll last them a lifetime. When I was 14, 15, I'd go up and work on a ranch up by Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Romantic riding horses. No, no, no. It was a crap job, and I'm sure that kind of instilled in me the uh, the desire not to do that, or not to try to make a living do that. Now I'd love to own a farm, but yeah, just crap jobs will encourage you.
That's funny because I just last week was contemplating, not real seriously, the concept of going further out of town and buying 100 acres and raising cows and sheeps and I don't let them frolic around. I don't even know what they do. My grandfather was a farmer after being an engineer at GE Aircraft his whole life, and there's a certain romanticism about it, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. I got a couple acres here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest, and the end of the day, there is nothing out there, and like pulling weeds, weeding the tomato garden. It just, I think, just gives you a sense of fulfilling. Get your fingernails dirty, and yep, absolutely.
What's a reminder of simpler times too? I know a lot of people are planting gardens, and we
Yeah,
haven't
yeah.
we haven't done that yet. I put pansies in our pots And my wife's got one of those little shaker packs of arugula, but they've not been planted yet.
Uh, Yeah, I have mixed feelings about this gardening craze because I've been doing it for the past 20 years, and then all these hipster posers kind of, doing their
Great.
doing their raised beds, getting all fancy. It's gardening. Well, should I cut this stem when I trim my tomatoes? No, no,
All
you
right.
just do it, man. You just it's just like making bread. All the hipsters. I've been making bread for. I have a sourdough starter that's 50 years old. And they, so you got to measure out, blah, 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 use these micro scales. No, you just kind of throw flour and water in it when it gets the right consistency. And then, it rise till you're sick of watching it rise. And then you throw it in the
Slam
oven.
it in the oven.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
you told me about your sourdough starter one time. Uh, that's been handed down through your family?
It is. When I was a wee boy,
That was a
my,
long time ago.
this 50 years ago. My dad worked for the FAA and they had training down in Oklahoma City. My mom hooked up with this lady from Alaska, and she gave her the starter, the sourdough starter, and she said it was, 50, 100 years old when she had it. And I can guarantee you that it's been my mom's fridge for 50 years. Every month, every couple weeks, make some either bread or some sourdough pancakes and keep the starter going. Isn't that a neat story?
It's a strange family heirloom, but yet it's really productive. Like it does something. It's not like some crappy vase that has been in the family for 400 years or something. It's like it's a useful tool. What is this? Is it just a little glob of what is it? I don't even know what a starter looks like.
It's just water and yeast. You can actually create your own starter, get some unbleached flour and throw some water in it. And flour has yeast in it, just by the fact that it's wheat, and the yeast will just start, multiplying and make sourdough.
Why don't you send me a slice off of your starter?
I would be more than happy, but I'd need a pound of flour in repkin cents.
I, I don't know what you're blabbering about.
I need a
A
pound of
pound
flour. I will give you the starter, but the deal is you got to get a pound of flour for it.
a pound of flour is like $3.
Yeah, it's what my mom gave, and that's what I've given probably half dozen people starter, and that's the deal, man.
So if I ship you a pound of flour, you will return a little tub of goo for starting.
Wait,
I
and in
just,
your case, make that a bottle of Blanton's? No, of Pappy Van Winkle's.
you got to get in line for that, unfortunately. I can. So that's the thing. They've got you can get the Pappy here in Cincinnati. There's the Party Source just in northern Kentucky, and you can get it pretty easily, but you have to stand in line like some sort of chump.
So you have Kevin do that?
Gosh, I wish I would. He's a little too
That's
neurotic
Lucy.
for that.
You got the Lucy now.
Ooh, she could live tweet from the storage review line to get Pappy.
Forget about giving away servers. Give away one bottle of Pappy's and see what kind of response you get. You would have so many hits.
Yeah, but they would all be from like the V
Alcoholic
Beard.
middle-aged men
Yeah, they would
from
all be from the V Beard group, which is okay. I was actually just talking with Josh Fidel, who's another Ohioan up in Northeast Ohio in Akron. He was an ex-VMware guy and is now moved to I don't know if it's the dark side or the light side of what are they? A reservoir? I don't know. Up there, something up there where he's moving product. But yeah, he's managed to grow quite a nice beard as well. Um, it's surprisingly difficult to to find and work with guys that are as competent across the entire VMware portfolio as that guy is. Uh, so he'll probably never listen to this because he doesn't like me that much. But a shout out to a fellow Ohioan.
Well, you are well liked by people who don't know you that well.
That's what my mom always said. So I just got an email before we got on a little bit ago about this is earnings season, and uh, I think a lot of obvious places got hit. The airlines and hotels, and of course we're concerned about that a little bit. But the tech companies too. Dell just dropped their earnings. I was looking at the notes. Let's see. ISG
How bad of a
drove
hit
rev.
did they? How bad they get hit, man? They can't
They
be doing good in this environment.
they said they did pretty well. They beat
Really?
yeah, first quarter GAAP and non-GAAP revenue of almost 22 billion.
Oh, geez.
That's a lot. Let's see. That operating diluting earnings per share. I don't really care about that. Orders with banking and financial services, government, healthcare, and life sciences up 15 to 20%. Let's see, storage revenue. So ISG, that's their, what we think of mostly as their enterprise business, was 7.6 billion of that 22 roughly. Storage revenue was almost 4 billion. Servers and network 4 billion. I mean, it
They're going up
sounds
in servers and storage?
well. I don't know.
Oh,
I've got to dive into it, but I'm just saying the 4 billion each with 3.8 for storage and 3.8 for servers and networking. That sounds kind of good.
yeah, hat tip to Dell. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I my eyes glaze over when I start looking at some of this financial reporting, but
When you get Michael on the podcast?
I made the request. Here's another shout out. Hey, Ken Bruno, I know you're listening to this. Where is Michael? We got to get him going on the podcast. Ken's a good guy. He just got married. He's in New York, probably hunkered down still. I don't know how close he is to the city, but geez, that's a tough one.
Oh,
Our guy Vince is in New York too. He's making all of our videos look beautiful and our sound better. And it's so funny because we as you know, we give away a lot of stuff on Reddit. And one of the things we gave away I guess it's a couple months ago now, um, was a little two bay hardware RAID enclosure thing. So we give it away on HomeLab or HomeLab sales on Reddit, and we had, as usual, several hundred people responded. I 800 or 900, I can't remember. And I go, they put it in contest mode. I refresh. I randomly select an entry, and it's this guy Vince. And I send it to him, and then I started emailing with him a little bit. What do you do? And he said, oh, I do video production and all this other technical stuff I didn't understand. And I said, hey, I'm currently producing our videos on iMovie, and they kind of suck. I bet you could make them suck a little bit less or a lot less. What do you think? And he's like, I'm in. So we went from giving away a RAID enclosure to a random person on Reddit to finding a guy that's really helped drive the video and audio production to make it suck much less. I can't make any fix for me. I will still suck the most, but he's really made the sound and the video really great. So
yeah.
and he's helping Kevin figure out this live stream for Thursday.
Yeah, and a really nice guy too. We were sitting on the HP call with him, and just a nice guy. I didn't expect that from a New Yorker. Anyone east of the Mississippi? Wait, Ohio. Let's see. Which side of the Mississippi? Which side
We're
of the
east,
Miss?
you
Oh,
son of a bitch. Hey, so you tell me. Oh, so anyway, but to the Dell's point was, I think that they've been able to balance their thing. And if I read this press release, it has too many words in it. It would probably say end user systems are up and monitor sales are up and all that stuff to help people work from home. But the thing you and Vince are working on actually is really cool too. The ZCentral bit. What's that looking like for you?
hey, it works. I mean, I set it up.
Well, what does it do for
I'm
someone that
sorry.
doesn't know what it is?
It's a VDI solution that's simple. It's definitely not as powerful as something like Citrix or Horizon. They don't pretend they are. What they have is a very efficient protocol. It's RGS. It's the same protocol or base. Well, its heritage is, remember the Mars Explorer when they were sending back those great pictures, videos from Mars?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's their technology. That's kind of their founding.
that compression.
Yeah, that compression,
Wow.
yeah. And so I was able to set it up in 10 minutes, 5 minutes, um, and connect to a workstation. And it was really neat because was using a GPU, and I initially was using their non-compression, their AVC, non-AVC compression algorithm. I was getting about 100, 200 megabits per second network traffic, and then I turned on AVC and it dropped down to like 10, 12 megabits, and I was taking this 3D model, rotating it around, and it would look pretty damn good.
Well, you do a lot of end user computing and thin client work and all that sort of thing for us. And this is a this is similar, but there's enough difference. So what this is you can rack up or put them wherever you want in the closet. It doesn't really matter. A range of HP products. You could put in Z2 minis, which we've done some work with. Those are great little, tiny little desktops you can slap on the back of a monitor if you want. I think they've even got a Visa mount for that. Or you could take the desktops. We've got a couple Z640s and some other ones where you could rack them and then provide direct access to your employees to those physical systems. So if you need the creative horsepower of a tower, but can't, for whatever reason, in these uncertain times, deliver one of those to every employee, being able to remote into those things is pretty sweet.
Yes, and I think that's what they teach you in improv class. And
Yeah.
you can do collaboration, so you can have 10 different people looking at the same model, same
Hmm.
image, same film at the same time, and they can interact with it, which is it. Again, it just worked. I did it this afternoon. I mean, there was nothing to it.
Yeah, that's pretty slick. I think we're going to try to get some of those set up in the lab too, if we can.
Yeah,
Yeah, our,
I want him to. I'd like to take a look at the Z4 because that's one step up from the Z2. It's still a small package, not as big as a Z6, but it still has a GPU in it, and it looks like you can throw a couple disks in it. And I love my little NUC, but it's somewhat limited in the amount of storage that you can have in it. So it works great for a workstation where you don't really need that much storage because you're probably attached to some kind of um, and network storage. But the Z4, you'd be able to throw a couple uh, big disks in it and use it, I think.
yeah, I'm hoping the biggest limitation now and why our YouTube video count is so low is that there just aren't a lot of people going into the offices to ship stuff around, and that's
Right.
the logistics challenge.
Yeah. And,
And but
um, but the Z series workstation you get it used to be called RGS. That's what I knew it as back in the day in the 2019s. Um, they changed the name to ZCentral Remote Connect this year. But it comes with a license to use it, so you don't really have to. I mean, literally, if you were working in films, work for Pixar, whatever, blah blah blah, and you had a Z workstation, I mean, you were there. You just set up a VPN, go in, and you're golden, man.
yeah, so how do you, I mean, as the thin client guy, how do you think about that technology versus more traditional Horizon, VMware, or Citrix or whatever, or just like a Windows remote desktop into a system? I mean, there are several ways to skin this cat.
Right, exactly. Horizon, you need to set up an infrastructure. Horizon's great. Citrix is great if you have a lot of users. If you need to use virtual machines, you need to do provisioning on the fly, blah, blah, blah. But that comes with a cost that you need to administer. You need to, the feed and carrying of it and all that stuff. Where this, you just kind of connect and go. And like I said,
Hmm.
it comes with a license. If you got a Z series workstation, you're there. So
And we
I'd like to get some stats and see how many people, did that conversion when all of a sudden they had to work from home because pretty dang simple.
Yeah, and I imagine some of it's sort of retroactive at this point because nobody understood how long this was going to be, or in some markets. So, like in Michigan, just a couple hours north of me, or if you're like Fidel up in Akron, Michigan's pretty darn close, and they're still locked down tight. So, it's safe. It's safe in Ohio to go into the office and do that if you want. But in a lot of other states, it's still not something you can do, including from the creative pro perspective. New York City and LA County are still locked down tight. You can't do that. So these solutions, I think, are going to be there for a while. And you know, we've all seen Twitter and Facebook and some of the other places saying, you know, work for home is going to be the new norm. And I don't know, man. Are we too old? I sort of feel like that'll be that the pendulum will swing that way. But I gotta think that there's just so much efficiency, at least in our org, and we're small, but in just seeing each other in person, that you cannot replace that.
I agree 100%. Yeah, I've worked from home for the past 10 years or so, and I do miss that interaction. I know I miss a lot of stuff just because you can't, do that little gopher thing where you pop over the cubicle and say, "Hey, Kevin, go
Yeah.
down and get me a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle's." And he'll say, "Yes, but first I need to test this SSD drive, this NVMe drive," and then he gets you going down this some rat hole, and you don't get your bottle of whiskey. Damn it!
I know. He wouldn't even know what it was. He'd come back with a Snickers bar and a cold hot dog, probably from
With
the
with
BP
a
station.
handle of Old Crow. Well, this was cheaper.
Oh,
I mean, look, it cost
that's
a tenth of the price, and you get 5 times as much.
that sounds like him. You put a couple strawberries in there and he's ready to roll. Nobody likes, I've not met anyone that likes a frozen drink more than Kevin.
When we were in San Diego, me and Kevin were in San Diego for
Kubicon, right?
KubeCon.
Yeah.
Yeah, he needed his milkshake, went to Spaghetti Factory, and they didn't have one. He looked like a little hurt puppy. He was devastated.
But you know, the best thing about Kevin is if you get him that milkshake with a little shooter on top to mix in, I tell you what, a little bit of libation
He is,
gets his neuroses just like fades away.
yeah, he is a fun drunk. I will give Kevin that much. So is that. Well, all you guys, all you Midwestern guys are fun drunks.
Yeah, he's from what is it, Wisconsin? Yeah, Wisconsin, Racine
Racine.
in Wisconsin.
Uh,
And he'll be the first to tell you about Kringles and other sausages. I got to listen to him all day about how we can't make a sausage in Cincinnati, so I don't know.
I do love a good sausage there. Up in Columbus, there was a good sausage factory there. They had the Bahama Mamas that were just
Mm.
outstanding. Are you familiar?
Well, yes, I've definitely heard. I don't know if it's the same place, but I've had Bahama Mama sausages before, and yeah, that says summer right there, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. We were Austin Cubicon, down off the road. I'm not sure what street it is. There's a couple good sausage factories there, and man, I tell you,
Do they call themselves sausage factories? It sounds even
sausage
worse
sausage
the way you
fest. I,
say
I
it.
don't know what they call them, but yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to get Kevin to experiment Friday or Monday on. Yeah, we're doing this Thursday night, so tomorrow or Monday on a live stream. We'll see
Wait,
how
wait.
that goes.
So the guys coming in from Berkeley on the IX
No,
private jet or what?
Knoxville.
Oh,
They
how
got
far is that from you guys?
four, four and a half probably.
I thought IX was run by a bunch of ex-hippies out of Berkeley.
Oh, I'm sure there's hippies for sure, but this guy's in Knoxville, and he'll come up, and he's even in the Eastern time zone part of Tennessee, I think. Tennessee's got that split time zone going on. So if you go down to Nashville, I think they're Central, which is kind
Oh,
of weird.
okay. So do you want to put a bottle on whether he'll show up in a tie-dyed T-shirt with a peace symbol on it or not?
There's no way.
No way, you don't think so?
No.
With maybe the Grateful Dead dancing bears on it. You will go out to his car and you will see the Grateful Dead dancing bears on the back of
I
his
will
Subaru Outback. Nope. Yep, Subaru Outback. I bet you.
I will check just for you, but I don't think that's going to happen.
In the spacious storage review parking lot.
Too much sensibility in the Midwest for that
Are you
kind of
gonna
nonsense.
mask up when he comes up? Are you guys masking? What's the deal?
We are all in the office, but Kevin and Alex and Adam and I, and eventually next week Lucy, will all have separate spaces to work in. So we're able to gap out pretty well, and then the rest of the team, you and Lyle and Michael and Juan and I'm missing somebody. Anyway, the rest of the freelance guys, obviously, you guys are mostly at home or remote, so that's not a big deal. But yeah, it's a philosophical thing, right? About what to do there, and if guys want to mask up, they can, or gals, but everyone's got individual spaces, so we're able to to gap out. And actually, while we were interviewing for the social media thing, I had the Lysol can up there and spraying down the whole conference room every time. So every time someone came in, it was like a cloud of linen fresh scent.
Well, to be fair, even before CV19 with Kevin in the office, you kind of had to Lysol down every once in a while anyway, didn't you?
It's not a bad take. Yeah. I don't know if we should get into Kevin's lunchtime regimen, but it's been kind of nice. So
You
he's
know,
been
you know
coming.
what, Brian? The reality is it's just me and you on this conversation. No one else is gonna.
But he won't listen anyway. But he's been coming in late in the afternoons because his wife works, and he's been helping with the kids and figuring out how to balance all those life situations. But when he does show up for the lunch hour,
He comes in right around lunchtime.
I would give you three guesses as to what he eats for lunch on a daily basis.
Okay, I can narrow it down to something that can be microwaved, something
Correct.
that has nothing that's non-processed. So I
That's
am
also correct.
I am going to go with a hot pocket,
That's a great guess, but no.
and I know it's not a lean cuisine.
No, but I'll make one more guess and then I'll give you one more clue.
Does he stop by Little Caesars and bring in a pizza?
No, it goes in the microwave. You were right on
Okay, the
the first
microwave.
try.
Let's see, not a hot pocket.
Uh-uh. Not
What?
frozen.
Not frozen, but goes in a microwave. I You got me.
SpaghettiOs.
They still make those? Oh wait, he likes Vienna sausage too, doesn't he?
Probably.
I think he does. I think when we were in San Diego, I said, "Hey, great barbecue place next door." He goes, "Nah, I got my little Vienna sausages here." And he
he,
popped the
he
top on it.
he brought a bag of those things with him.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh,
Potted
that would
potted
be
meat
epic.
products. You just
Uh,
can't beat them.
to travel with your own sack of sausages. Actually, so while you and I are sitting here picking on Kevin, my Apple Watch is vibrating because he and Juan are actually working on a project on Slack together. So now I feel a little bad about picking on Kevin because it's almost 9 o'clock Eastern on Thursday, and he's working, and we're making fun of his SpaghettiOs.
His dietary
Yeah,
habits. Yeah.
I'll
So
get over it though.
yeah, are you looking forward to getting out? Because I was actually getting a little bit burnt out on conferences, going to Vegas, blah blah blah. Are you burnt out? Are you ready to hit the road again? You talked about getting the Scooby van going, didn't
Yeah,
you?
I know. I talked about that last week with Steve Searles. Uh, yeah, I mean, I thought I've learned a little bit about myself over this process. I thought I hated everybody,
And I always
and
thought that too. I always thought you hated everyone.
and the more the more I spend time without my circle of IT nerd friends, whether it's the PR teams. I've got a Topo Chico sitting next to me. I'll shout out to Lon Leviton from Dell EMC or Dell Technologies. Sorry, he'd probably yell at me for branding it wrong. For introducing me to that last time I was down in Austin, and our friends Amelia over at NetApp. I mean, it's so hard to not see these people that, especially a lot of these guys and gals that I've kind of grown up with through IT. I don't know, that probably sounds a little too emotional, but
Well, you're getting a
we've
little, for the people who can't see you, you get little tears running down your cheek there.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's so I'm generally antisocial because I just don't like people that much. But it's weird when you take all that away, you're like, oh, you know what? Maybe I kind of like those guys all right. And so, I
Wait, wait,
do
wait, wait,
miss
wait, wait.
events.
Backtrack. You
Yeah.
gotta love Lon.
Leon.
Leon. Wait, how the hell do you pronounce his name? How does he spell his name?
It's Lon. I don't think you
Yeah,
pronounced it
You
Leon.
know, I have a tough time with Nooks. Lon.
Leon.
Yeah.
Oh
Lon, you know,
gosh.
Lon's a great guy. He can talk music with you. He can talk technology with you. He's one of the good ones, man.
He is a good dude. That's why he's, progressed to director Lon, as Patrick likes to say, from Serve the Home to his position at Dell. Leon's a good take though. I just watched the
Wait,
current
Leon or Lon?
Leon, I think is what we're going to go with instead of Lon.
Okay.
I just finished Curb Your Enthusiasm, and Leon's in there, and I don't see a lot of resemblance between Lon, but we'll see about that.
Yeah. Do you ever
But
watch Californication?
no,
Yeah,
is that is that the one with Nealon?
that's what David Duchovny. He's pretty much a
Oh,
degenerate author, so I can kind of relate. Um,
Degenerate Author. I thought that was Red Shoes Diaries.
yeah, he was in that too. Um, but one of the characters was Levon after the Elton John song "Levon, My
Mm,
Brother," blah blah blah.
hmm
But they had a character in him whose mother was Heather Graham. So
Hmm.
yeah,
I'm actually working through at bedtime these days the back issues of Scrubs on Hulu.
good stuff.
She made it's a great series, and she made an appearance there for maybe a season or two. I can't remember how long she was on, but
What was she? I don't. I love Heather Graham. What character
she
did she play?
she was a doctor, a peds or something, probably. I can't remember. I'm not back up to that. So I watched it live way back
Yeah.
in the 90s before HDTV, but yeah, I'm only on the tail end of season one now. I
Hmm.
think she shows up around three or four.
Yeah, me and my wife were doing Community again, and she never watched it. And this is pretty funny stuff.
Jill McGale did a darn good job with that. And I didn't watch all of it, so maybe I'll put that on next too.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, talking about lack of people to talk to about technology. I got that little Nook that I dearly love, and I tried to express my love to it to my wife, and just might as well have been talking to this can of hot shot wasp and hornet killer that I'm sitting looking at right now. I mean, she just, yeah, that's nice, Tom. That's nice. No,
Yeah,
no.
so that's why I'm so excited for IX coming up next week. That if
Oh,
something happens and he doesn't come, I'll be heartbroken.
yeah, absolutely. And so driving out. You said it's only how many hours away?
Yeah, four and a half probably.
Hmm.
So he's going to drive up. We're starting to hear whispers of maybe events in the fall, and it was, so I was going to say too that yeah, I talked to Steve last week about doing a an RV tour and go hit Boston area, Raleigh, Austin. I don't think I can drive it all the way to Denver, but hit some of our storage hotspots. But I I tell you what, I think I'm about this close to getting on a plane and go see people. But the word is from a lot of the guys that we work with is that their corporate policies forbode them from having any sort of contact with outsiders at all. So even if I masked up and bubble suited and flew out to San Jose or Round Rock or whatever, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know how open they are. And Delta actually out of Cincinnati cut our service back to only the hub, so we can only fly direct to Detroit, Salt Lake, Minneapolis, and Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, I think out of all those, man, I think Salt Lake would be the place to go.
Oh,
Detroit,
for sure.
yeah, Detroit just kind of. Yeah, I
But
can't
even
imagine.
Salt Lake, so there's a couple people we know out there actually. Susse's got an office out there. There's a good dude out there that works for WD on the testing side, but I'd have to get a car and hop over to Denver to make that trip work.
Um, yeah, that's an 8-hour drive. I've done that many a times. I went to school in Utah at the Weber State University. No offense to what's the one you guys have up in Columbus? What's it called?
That's a little one. I believe they call it the Ohio State
The oh
University.
yeah, I think the Weber State was first, but you
You
know,
really we see Weber State every three or
you see,
four marches,
wait,
right?
you see who?
Weber, the Weber
Oh,
State.
wait, the Weber State. Yeah,
You were confused?
I just didn't know what you were talking about there.
Man, March Madness, that was fell by the wayside. You saw NHL's coming back. They're going to go straight into a modified playoff scenario.
They gonna have a crowd or not?
No crowd.
Just
I think
that.
crowds are done for sporting events. I think probably for a while.
Yeah, talking about sporting events, NetApp Insight gonna go down this year. They're in
Well,
October.
it's in that range of possibility, I would
Yeah.
say. They
So
haven't
what?
canceled yet.
Yeah. So how are they gonna do that with the hotels and stuff? Just have a big can of Lysol like you guys have, and
Well, so Vegas is open now. I saw a thing this morning about the restaurants have put up plexiglass and done all sorts of stuff, and the gambling floors look ridiculous. Have you seen these?
yeah, with the plexiglass and people, how they can do that at craps tables? Are they gonna have like a
It's
little pop-o-matic dice
it
roller or what?
no, God, well, yeah, you gotta definitely don't blow on the dice and don't put the dice in your mouth. Um,
That's right. That's what you do when you go to the crap.
yeah,
You wander around in your mouth a little bit and
I
then
take
roll
the
the
dice, I
bones.
put them in my mouth, and then spit them to the other side of the table. I don't know why they've never complained about that, but
Yeah. Well, it's those. It's the amount of money you have at the table, right?
yeah, you can slobber on the dice.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Um, but yeah, they've got plexi set up for the dealers, and then a lot of the table games like blackjack, it's three people. Craps, I think the
Yeah.
max is six now. I mean, it's not the same. I haven't been obviously, but assuming I go, it's not the same.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna be different for a little while, and people with masks on, you can't see you can't judge whether they're laughing at Tom humor or just totally
they're probably
appalled by
they're
it.
they're probably not.
Yeah, well, that is the default assumption I make, but as long as I amuse myself.
I do wonder at the poker tables if they're required to mask up, and if so, now your tells are limited
And that's right. You
in
got that
terms of
twitchy lip when you got a good hand. You start just kind of
shh,
a
shh,
little
shh, shh, shh,
drool
shh.
coming down. That's
Don't tell. Actually, it's funny because I heard I can't remember the guy's name. He was on Corolla's podcast a couple of weeks ago talking about Molly's Game. Did you
Oh
see
yeah,
that?
I listened to that. Yeah, that was a great movie.
The movie was fantastic. So this guy Houston, something Houston, I can't remember his name, wrote a tell-all book to correct the record of the movie, which was based on another book that whatever wasn't quite right. But I bought that and started reading through that, and yeah, it's just pretty amazing how they pulled that together.
Well, yeah, and talking about two different, how the thing went down. Because when I was listening to the guy at first, I kind of bought into his line, but then he started. Oh, yeah, no, Solomon, the guy who made the film with Paris Hilton. He's a great guy. He's a scumbag. Yeah, yep. So you've got some great authors on. I've noticed the last couple of weeks you've reached out there, talked to the guy with Samsung.
Yeah, that's been really fun to talk to some smart people and then
As opposed to this.
talk talk with you. Yeah, and the last guy just left his BuzzFeed post and is probably going on to do other great things. But yeah, some of these deep analysis that have been done. So it's funny because if you're into murder mysteries or legal thrillers, you can go read Grisham or Patterson. I mean, there's a billion authors you can go read, right? To get that fix. If you're an absolute technology nerd like you and I, there's that same like there aren't a whole lot of books on Michael Dell. Yeah, he he's a he's got a great story, but he's a pretty average dude. He's not out there like Epstein or somebody else like making waves, right? And doing all uh, this stuff that's worthy of deep documentary dives. Um, so to do the deep dive on Samsung was cool, and then the Kantrowitz book on Facebook and Twitter and Amazon. It's neat nerd stuff, right?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, and to get that insight that just, the inside guy or the inside investigator who gets to talk to these sources that he doesn't have to name so they can spill their guts about how things really went on. Samsung, it's 50 different companies that the only thing they have in common is the name, and all the profits go to the Samsung family.
Well, yeah. I mean, I told him in that story when we were doing a review of a portable hard drive one time, and I had the guy giving me the briefing update on it, and I said, hey, so how does this work with the other brands and this design and that sort of thing? And he said, yeah, well, what we do is we wait for the TVs to come out at CES, and then we try to make our design look like that. And I said, wait a minute, what? You wait for your Samsung, their Samsung. He's like, yeah, not the same thing. I'm like, oh, all right. I mean, but back in the day, I tell you what, Samsung had one of the best hard drives out there. The Spin Point, oh man, maybe MP7 or 9, but they had a great 2.5 inch hard drive for a long time. It was one of the best out there.
Yep. I remember those days. Samsung and the IBM drive. I forget what
Hmm.
the name of that. They were a generation ahead of everyone else. They were the hot setup.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's well, now we're down to 3 hard drives. And in fact, speaking of hard drive, I saw our buddy Patrick at Serve the Home today posted a video showing off the SMR WD Red versus the CMR WD Red. I don't know if you followed this,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, WD kind of swapped out some SKUs in the middle of the run of their NAS hard drives, and everybody knew it, but they did Serve the Home did a video on it showing a something like a 9-day rebuild on a FreeNAS box
Wow. Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the shingled drive, which it makes perfect sense. That's not what those drives are built to do. And so when you slam the red label on an SMR drive, that's not good.
Yep. And Patrick had a chance. I met up with him at the Intel thing that you came out to the Pacific Northwest for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Again, talk about just a really nice guy who knows his stuff. I mean, just yeah, good guy. I love their site next to storagereview.com. One of my favorite sites to
Yeah,
go
no, serve
visit.
serve the home's a solid second. I agree. Yeah, Patrick, last time, it wasn't the last time I saw him, but he took me on my first electric scooter ride through San Jose. And we rode limes, and he took me on a tour of the river. I actually didn't know San Jose had a river, but they've got a running, walking trail. And I noticed at the time that there were a lot of campers down there, and I had no idea that San Jose was such a hot spot for camping. But
Urban
uh,
campers.
oh yeah, there were tents everywhere. I mean, it was really festive
Yeah.
in that part of California.
Yeah, Portland has the same thing. We got urban campers under every underpass, and yeah, yeah, yeah. But they had those little electric scooters in Jerusalem when I was there, and I was kind of tempted to get one, but I'm a little bit scared. I don't know.
So you know what I've done is now in the lockdown, all those scooter services are getting
Oh,
destroyed, right?
yeah.
So there are some guys online that are selling those scooters that evidently had them warehouse ready to sell them to Lime or Lyft or whoever else is running the scooters. and you can buy those for about half price of what the or less what the retail consumer one is. And the only difference is that their Segway ES4 is the only difference is these don't fold down. So
Okay.
if you bought a retail Segway ES4, you could fold it, throw it in the back of your car or whatever. These are pinned upright for the scooter services. So I bought one, had so much fun on it with my 10-year-old. I bought another one so he and I can ride to the coffee shop on the weekend together, and he'll get a water and a cookie, and I get a coffee, and it's fantastic. And yeah, I guess I have to thank Patrick for that.
Well, I have to search around because Portland had a crap load of those, and I wonder, yeah,
There's
yeah,
a dude. There's a dude down in Arcadia, out just I think just outside of LA in California, who has a ton of them that's selling them for 360, 370 or something like that. So they're tremendous amount of fun. You can get 18. Well, I'm a little well, you might be heavier than me. You might only get 16, but you get going pretty
16
good
miles,
miles.
16.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, yeah.
miles per hour. And if you go up a big hill, you got to give it a little push. But
So, so they had like the internet connectivity to them. They disable that, or how does that work?
yeah, it's got Bluetooth. So the Segway app works with them via Bluetooth, and you can customize lights on it and speed controls if you want. But yeah, it doesn't. It, I don't know what it takes to enable like the GPS tracking. It doesn't have that, but it's got a little app on your phone you can connect with.
Yeah. So during this shutdown, anything out there catching your eye from any of the big companies? Are they just kind of holding back till it opens up so they can do big releases of them at their convention? Have you anything interesting out there catching your eye, technology
Well,
wise?
yeah, I mean, we saw Dell drop Power Store a couple weeks ago, so Dell's not holding back. Um, Cisco made a little AI software acquisition today. Cisco, for all the companies, are cranking out blog posts left and right, so they're trying to up their comms game. And then Pure last week, or maybe it was this week, dropped a blog post just eviscerating the Power Store from Dell. So Pure is sticking with their in your face approach
They-
to marketing. Yeah, it's fun. I don't blame them for that. Although by now they're at a maturity point where maybe they might have to tone that down. Uh, HPE, I don't even know what's going on, honestly, with the storage business over there. I know they're taking Nimble and making it a disaggregated HCI, going after that concept that NetApp. It's funny because NetApp got picked on for that with their SolidFire acquisition that turned out to to be their DevOps platform and sort of their next generation computing platform. And now Nimble's doing that. So, we're seeing stuff happen. We're seeing some great things out of Lenovo, actually, one of our favorites right now. We've, I think, I'd have to look again. I think we've only done two Editor's Choice Awards this year, and they're both Lenovo servers.
yeah,
On
Kevin fell in love with that one, didn't he?
Oh, dear
Yep.
Lord. The SE350 is phenomenal. It is so cool for a compact server. And then the SR635 that actually we're doing some work on. We put a picture up on Instagram of a box of flash. We're putting 12 PCIe Gen 4 SSDs to work to show the capabilities of what Gen 4 can do on an AMD platform, because Intel's not quite there yet on their CPU refresh. But yeah, I it's Lenovo's doing really great work. Not that they weren't before, and in fact, Kevin, just another Instagram post we made this week is Kevin took I think 10 or maybe a dozen old Think servers off the floor in the lab and put them into a rack and started to get them operational again. But Lenovo is doing a great job on the server side, and then they've got the partnership with NetApp on the storage side, and they've got some solutions there. In fact, that's what Kevin and Juan are working on tonight, doing a deep dive on some cloud capabilities for Lenovo storage. So yeah, there's definitely some guys that are standing out, and for those that don't have anything unique right now, I think that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I think disaggregated storage kind of got a bad rap. Well, it just got overshadowed by HCI because I mean, it's a great story, disaggregating your storage from your server. You can, upgrade what needs to be upgraded or add capacity that way. But it just got so overshadowed by HCI. I think we're starting to see that, like you said, the pendulum kind of swing the other way. We're seeing a lot more disaggregated stuff.
Well, vSAN is still the clubhouse leader, and I know Nutanix will scream and shout about that, but
Our our,
vSAN,
our friends at Nutanix.
we're getting along a little better these days. They don't call, they don't write, but they don't sue us anymore. Um, the vSAN solution is just so strong into that VMware install base because it's easy. It may not be cheap or cost effective necessarily. And then when you look at something like Rail, that's more expensive, but what you get from an operational standpoint is something that's so easy to use and deploy and manage that the cost is more of a secondary issue. And Rail, for instance, is also the underpinning for everything else VMware, whether it's um, Cloud Foundry or whether it's uh, VMware Cloud on Dell EMC or whatever. All these solutions are really going to be driven by vSAN one way or another, at least in that part of the world. Now, they don't offer a disaggregated solution. So does that become a problem at some point? For some customers, maybe it's a deal killer, and that goes away immediately. For others, the simplicity of vSAN or Ready Nodes or VxRail is okay. Um, but definitely the NetApp approach, this nimble disaggregated approach, I think makes a lot of sense from a scalability standpoint.
Yeah, and I think it just, like you said, it's nice having just this air quotes single pane of glass to administrate everything. You need more, whatever. You just throw in another node. You don't worry about it. You just have a single SKU to order. So it does have some appeal that way. So
Yeah,
I
but
get
some guys want to be able to add another 20 terabytes of storage, and it's not always easy to do that in the single SKU ordering model.
Yep. And yeah, like I said, that's the other side, just the ability to add more compute power without having to worry about the storage. And so I guess it's just the use case, same as anything else, right?
Indeed. And Tom, we're exceeding the length of our podcast with this conversation.
Oh, let's
And
see. Yeah,
I
we
know that
we we've been
you know
talking
no
for what?
bounds.
We've been talking about 2 hours now. So if you cut out all the foul language between us, it should come out to be about an hour and a half, maybe.
5 or 6 minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is a good conversation. I always appreciate hanging with you, hearing your thoughts on technology, cigars, and whiskey. And I appreciate you joining in tonight. And this is fun. We'll have to do this again.
Yep, and your timing is, as you can see, I just have one little sip left there of my Irish Tears. You do need
All
to get
right.
Irish Tears to sponsor one of these podcasts.
I would love anyone to sponsor this
We need
podcast,
to.
but it's such a cluster. Nobody wants to be involved in this nonsense.
And next time we do it, we'll pick the same bottle and do a tasting on it as well.
Top to bottom.
Ooh, I like the way you think, Brian, with a Y.
No, no Y's. You just can't trust a Brian with a Y.
Yeah,
Absolutely not.
my brother's a Brian with an I, and
Yeah,
everyone
that's
tried to slip a Y in there when he was younger, and he like you, he pulled a hard line with the Y.
no, it's offensive. It's
It
absolutely
is.
offensive.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was great, Tom. Thanks for joining us today, talking tech. I appreciate your perspective as always, and thanks for coming by. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks again to Tom for being on the podcast this week. That was a fun conversation. Let us know if you like the format. Hit us at info@storagereview.com or tweet or Instagram, and hopefully you'll see more of us out of social as Lucy comes on board on Monday. We're looking forward to it. We're excited. Hope you guys are too. I appreciate your support very much. Thanks. Bye-bye.